Now, we've all seen the posts on Skool and also in YouTube videos where people are talking about how different case studies and different people are making six figures per month on Skool. Many of them suddenly made $50,000 in a launch in 3 days, or they're making $100,000 per month, and so on. But once you start to pull this apart, you realize that you're not seeing the full picture. We're being misled a little bit. And yes, obviously, this is marketing 101. It's what we do. You want to get the hook and the click. But I find it to be misleading because we don't really see what's happening behind the scenes. And an example of this recently in a community I'm in, they were talking about a struggling artist who was basically not really making any money from Skool. And then suddenly within a week, he was making about $30,000. But when I pulled it apart and I started to look at what he was doing and his background and what he had and social media and other things, suddenly I saw the big picture, the full picture. And the simple fact is everybody has different starting points. We all have different starting points, and it's a bit like a race. You're going to lose a potential race to people if you're starting hundreds of meters behind them. If they're way ahead of you, then obviously they're going to find it easier to win that race, to get ahead. And those results are going to look amazing to you if you don't realize that they're further ahead than you. So your starting point may be somewhere like here, but you're actually watching people that are here thinking that they are starting at the same place as you here. And obviously that's just not true. And then we see it and then we're disappointed by how our progress is tracking. And it's a bit like seeing someone climb a mountain and they're at the very top and you look up and you go, wow, that's so inspiring. It really makes me want to climb this mountain. And then you start climbing it and you realize, wow, this is tough. How did they get to the top so quickly? They seemed to do it overnight. They were almost like an overnight success. But what we don't realize is that they were starting from here when you started to pay attention. It's a bit like they took a helicopter up and they just suddenly dropped here overnight. And then you saw this last bit as they were going, whee, look at me. I'm doing it. It's amazing. But we realize that we've got to do this climb all the way up. And the simple fact is they have done things that will get them closer to the top. And often, as I said, when I pull it apart, and especially on this recent example where it was a struggling artist and maybe they were struggling financially, that much is definitely true. I believe that. And I don't want to take anything away from these stories. They're massively inspiring. But we want to look at what they've got. And this recent one, the person had over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. They were getting huge amounts of monthly views. They had an Instagram following and they were also getting a great amount of attention from that as well. And they also had a community that had nearly 5,000 members, a free community with nearly 5,000 members. So it's safe to say that they had already put some work in, a lot of work in fact. So they had built trust, and this is the key part. They spent time building trust with their audience. They had a warm audience and also obviously a large audience. And then in some cases, not perhaps with this example, but some cases of people that are doing this, they may have the budget. This may not be their first launch. They may have launched before. They may be running ads. They may do the social media. So they've got everything set up. They are primed for success, but it is not overnight success. So what they've basically got is they've got their trust, their audience. They've done the pre-work. They've got the experience of potentially selling something. Literally all they have to do is just put the right offer in front of those people. So even if they potentially put a bad offer in front of the size of the audience that this guy had, then he's going to make some sales of some kind. Now, it's obviously important to have the right idea, the right model, and the right offer set up. And if you would like to know how we do that, I will link to our free community in the video description. So I'll give you a better outline of the type of model that we use so you can see if that's a match for you. But you definitely want to have some system set up, and you want to make sure that you've got an offer that your audience are actually going to want. Because if they don't want what you're putting in front of them, then obviously fewer people are going to buy. So yes, that is part of the puzzle that's massively important, and people will get better results with the right offer. But they're primed. So it wasn't an overnight success. And it doesn't mean that their program is going to be good. So yes, they're further ahead, but they haven't perhaps done different iterations and different versions of the program. They haven't tested it as much. So maybe they'll make money initially, but they may not make as much money later on. They may struggle with scaling later on, but they do have the advantage of having that massive audience. So the benefit is, yes, maybe you're starting at the bottom of the mountain, and yes, they had a primed audience. But if you are doing it more intentionally and you're following a system and a program or a model from day one that's potentially going to put you in a better situation, then your climb can be faster. Your climb can potentially be easier, and you can start to make money on the way up. You can actually do it gradually going up as you're climbing the mountain. You don't have to wait till you get to the top to suddenly get a big payout. So if you're making money along the way, $50,000 after years of work doesn't actually sound like that much money when you break it down across those years. But if you are making money every month, then obviously you don't mind a gradual growing into it, because scaling takes time and you can improve your program and create something even better. So the general path that I see that people take, that we take, that our clients take, and creating a six-figure program, it requires taking the right steps in the right order. So the first thing, especially on Skool, is obviously going to be getting your first members inside, potentially doing a pre-launch of some kind, but otherwise getting your first members in, nurturing them, speaking to them, and obviously creating a community vibe in the first place. So getting your community set up properly. And then once you've got your first members inside, you've got enough of them, they're active enough, then you want to do your beta launch. You're going to do a beta launch where you're going to work with a few people to build your program with them, because you want to get paid to build your program. You want to basically be making money from day one, straight away. We don't really want to be building anything that we don't know is going to be a match for people. There's no point in building anything if nobody wants to buy it in the first place. So that's where having the right offer, having a beta launch that tests that people actually want that offer, and then you get paid to build it with them, and you get direct feedback to create something even better, something that you know is going to sell. And then from there, we build and refine the program to create the best possible program that we can. Maybe you work with a couple more groups, or maybe you open and close the doors, but you gradually build people in, and you don't try to run too quickly. You build and refine a great program. And then you improve the process for onboarding, and you build your system to make sure that the process of using your community and your traffic source are working together in a way that is predictable, and also you can start to see that it's something that you could scale. It's a system that if I put a certain amount into, I know that I'm going to be getting a certain amount out of. And at that point, that's when you can start to scale. But we only want to be scaling what works. This is why we want to make sure we've got the program and the system right in the first place, because if we don't have that set up right in the first place, then you might be wasting money on ads, you might be wasting money on or time on content, and you might be trying to scale something that isn't quite ready. It's broken, it's still a bit messy, and it's not going to scale that well. It might fall apart the moment you try and send more people into it. So in an ideal world, we've got our YouTube system set up. We realize that it's converting at an amount that is the target goal that we want. So let's say it's, for example, 5%. I see that in our community and with the method that we use, generally around sort of mid to high ticket, they convert with a community model with the right traffic at around about 5, potentially in some cases 10, up to 10%. So around that sort of 5% seems to be about the right amount. So if you're doing that with, say, $1,000 product, and your system works and it seems to stay at around 5%, then you know that if you push 100 free members into that community system, then you're going to be getting $5,000 out, potentially. So assuming that you've tested this, you've run through the beta, and it all seems to be working, 5%, then 100 members equals $5,000. Well, as soon as you know that, the only issue is trying to push more traffic into it. And you can do this with content, but then you can start to potentially even risk a bit on ads. Now, ads require more nurturing because it's colder traffic, but all you want to be doing is pushing as much traffic into that system as possible to then start to scale, making sure that you've got systems in place to onboard people properly, and that your back end, not just the financial side, but also the results side, doesn't break, because your credibility, and you want to be building that program properly in the first place. So the simple framework I recommend that most people follow with any type of community coaching business on Skool or anything else is basically a simple framework. And it's something I like to call the 5 Musketeers. So the one for all motto. And it's basically one problem with one audience or one group with one solution and having one program for 1 year. So once you do that, once you've tested this system and you've incrementally improved it and you keep basically bringing more people through the system and gradually scale, if you do that consistently for 1 year, by the end, you can potentially have a 6-figure program built and ready to scale even further. So that's what I recommend doing. That's generally how I see 6-figure programs being carved out. So what I would do if I were you is to ignore the hype, understand that you're not behind, you're just early in the process, and that you perhaps have to go a bit further. But if you do it gradually and you do it with the right way and the right system, then you can still be making money as you grow, rather than waiting to be one of these people that is at the top of the mountain and suddenly making a bulk of money, but probably struggled for years to get to the top. So as always, if you would like more help with this, I will link to our free community in the video description, where I'll take you through the model that we use and the traffic source, including YouTube, and how we do it. Again, I'll go through that in more detail, but the link to that will be in the video description. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.